Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Hello, Catholic pilgrims, and welcome to day 225 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. Why is it that vices are so much easier to fall into than virtues? It seems like with the vices, we don't even have to practice them. We just fall into them so easily. But virtues, we really have to practice and strive to get good at living out a virtue. And why is that? Sister Faustina today is going to tell us that she keeps falling into a certain vice. She doesn't tell us which one. 10 times she falls into it, and she's trying to actually practice the virtue that counters that vice, but she's struggling, and Christ tells her why. So that is what we are going to talk about today in Notebook 3, numbers 1085 through 1088. April 13th, 1937. Today, I must stay in bed all day. I had a violent fit of coughing, which left me so weak that I have no strength to walk. My spirit is eager to do God's work, but physical strength has left me. I cannot penetrate your actions at this moment, O Lord. Therefore, I keep repeating with a loving act of the will, do with me as you please. Although the temptations are strong, a whole wave of doubts beats against my soul, and discouragement stands by, ready to enter into the act. The Lord, however, strengthens my will, against which all the attempts of the enemy are shattered as if against a rock. I see how many actual graces God grants me. These support me ceaselessly. I'm very weak, and I attribute everything solely to the grace of God. When one day I resolved to practice a certain virtue, I lapsed into the vice opposed to that virtue 10 times, more frequently than on other days. In the evening, I was reflecting on why, today, I had lapsed so extraordinarily, and I heard the words, "You were counting too much on yourself and too little on me," and understood the cause of my lapses. Sudden return of health. After I had written a letter to Father Sapotsko on Sunday, April 11th, I suddenly became so very ill that I did not send that letter, but waited for a clear sign of God's will. However, my health got so bad that I had to go to bed. The coughing racked me so much that it seemed to me that if this repeats a few more times, it will surely be the end of me. So as I said in the beginning, it is so easy to just fall into vice. We don't even really have to try. It's almost our default setting is to just engage in vice. It just seems so easy for our human nature. And we know because of the fall that we are going to tend towards vice, and we really have to fight to live out virtues. So we've all heard of the 7 deadly sins, also known as the vices. And they are gluttony, envy, anger, lust, pride, sloth, and greed. Now, I think we all struggle somewhat with each one of these. But I would say that there's one in particular that really rules our lives. For me, it's pride. It used to be anger, but I have worked really hard to be better about being very angry all the time. And that comes from things that happened in my past, and I didn't quite know how to deal with bad things, and so I was just very angry, and it lashed out as rage. There's a difference between righteous anger and rage, and I hope we know the difference. So we all struggle with these to some degree, I would say. And to just go over them quickly, gluttony obviously is just indulging mostly in food and drink and going overboard. Not just having a slice of cake, but eating the whole cake. Envy obviously is looking at what somebody else has and wanting it for yourself. And you can't even be happy that they have it. And you want what they have right now. And The problem with envy is you tend to think that, if somebody has, this amount of money over here, that they're somehow taking it from you. And so you want to take it from them. We see this so much in our culture with the take from the rich and give to the poor mentality, which I agree that the rich should give generously of their wealth. However, the envy that goes on in our culture is not healthy. Then there's anger. Obviously, when you're kind of rageful and lashing out at people constantly, have road rage, yelling at people all the time, using terrible language when you're upset. I hope we can see that there's a difference between having righteous anger over seeing real evil happen in the world and just being an angry person all the time. Then there's lust, obviously, that having to do with the sexual realm or sexual creatures by nature as humans, but we can fall into the lust category where we want to use people for our own pleasure instead of love people and try to form a lasting bond with someone that we are married to. Then there's pride, which is my numero uno, thinking that you are just the best thing since sliced bread, and believing that you have all of your gifts just because you're that great, and forgetting to thank God for that. Sloth is knowing that we should be doing something, especially in the spiritual life, and not doing it. Usually when spiritual directors and such talk about sloth, they're referring to like things that we should be doing in the spiritual life, such as reading our Bible, making time for prayer, going to church, those types of things, and we just don't do it because we're being slothful. But I think it can also extend to just doing nothing with your time, just wasting the time that God has given you. Rest and relaxation are important, but the amount of TV and Netflix and video games that people just engage in on a daily basis, the amount is staggering. And then there's greed. You can't ever get enough. I need more, I need bigger, I need better, I need more. And you're never content or satisfied. And the problem with these 7 deadly sins is that our culture encourages every single one of them. And so no one's really standing around saying, hey guys, these things are not good. In fact, what the culture says is you do you, indulge, 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 and whatever makes you happy, or whatever you need to do in order to make yourself happy, go for it. But the virtues are very different. The virtues take a lot of practice, and the virtues take a lot of prayer and grace. And so I just want to give you the virtues that counteract the vices that I talked about. So gluttony, the virtue to practice is temperance, being temperate, not eating the whole cake, knowing that you can have some more tomorrow, just have a little now, enjoy it, and be happy with it. Envy is countered by charity. You are wanting what everybody else has. Instead, go give of your time, talent, and treasure, and be charitable. Anger is counteracted by kindness and, being merciful to people if they've cut you off on the road, or maybe they're having a bad day and aren't treating you well. Instead of getting mad at them, treat them with kindness. It was funny when we were in Turkey, because of the language barrier, sometimes the Turkish people would get frustrated with me because I couldn't speak Turkish, and I would get frustrated because I couldn't communicate with them. And so one thing I told my kids was just be kind. Just be kind and look like you need their help. And 9 times out of 10, that worked every single time instead of me getting frustrated and angry. Lust is countered by chastity, and we are all called to chastity, married, single. It doesn't matter. We are all called to be chaste and to use the gift of our sexuality in a way that is pleasing to God. Pride is counteracted by humility, recognizing that all your good gifts come from God, and that we should thank Him for the gifts He has given us to bring His light and love into the world. Sloth is counteracted by diligence, striving forth, keeping at something, even when it's hard, not just sitting back and not doing anything, but you have something to do and you are diligent about it. You get up and you do it. And then lastly, greed is counteracted by patience. Greed is where you just want. I want it now. I want more. I want better and bigger. But patience, on the other hand, tells us to slow down and wait. If you want a new car, maybe you need to save up some money. If you want this outfit at the mall, maybe you need to just wait a few months. You've got bills that need to be paid. And don't try to collect so many things, so much material wealth. Instead, be patient and don't seek instant gratification. So today we saw that Sister Faustina was struggling with some vice. She says she fell in it 10 times. And so again, we see that the saints are very relatable. They struggle too with vices. And what Christ tells her is, you are relying too much on your own self. You need to rely on me and my graces. And that's so true. Anytime we are trying to overcome a vice, to just buckle down and I'm not going to do it anymore, rarely ever works. That's just relying on ourselves. What we have to do is come to God in prayer and ask for graces to help us live out the virtue that we're seeking to live out. And He will help us. It does take time, and you have to get over a lot of bad habits usually, but we cannot do it without God's help. And so we must ask Him to shower us with graces, and eventually we will get there. We will get there if we keep trying. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 226. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.